I also wanted to ask about the PMS or PMSs in general. As Viraj mentioned, we're working with a lot of younger professionals who have accumulated a certain amount and would now be interested in PMSs. So how do they compare with a mutual fund? White Oak has both. And at what point in their journey should someone start looking at a PMS to add to their portfolio?
See, I think this is, I'll tell you something, it's slightly complex because there are so many, misunderstandings, or there are so many myths, right? So first let me clarify that there are quite a few mutual funds which are run as if they are a PMS, and there are quite a few PMS which someone might say that this is looking like a mutual fund portfolio. So I think there are all types, right? That is one. But broadly speaking, what one would keep in mind is that a PMS is a product which is meant for affluent HNI. And rightly or wrongly, somewhere the regulatory bent of mind is that people who are more affluent, more HNI, or more richer people, their risk appetite and their understanding of investment products would be of a higher order. Now you might agree or disagree with it, but AIF का minimum 1 crore है, PMS का minimum 50 lakhs है. ये सब minimums क्यों किए जाते हैं? Because these regulations are relatively light touch. There's nothing in regulation which is light touch, frankly. We are very well regulated. But compared to a mutual fund, PMS and AIF regulation is relatively light touch. What it means is that in a PMS or a AIF, the fund manager has a lot more latitude. Correct? Nobody tells you what is large cap, what is mid cap, what is small cap. In a mutual fund, it is well defined. Correct? Nobody tells, like in a PMS or AIF, we can have performance linked fee. And performance linked fee meaning not some hurdle linked. Performance fee meaning we just charge some proportion of the alpha that we generate. So if we don't, so we have all these, flat fees, performance linked fees, alpha linked fees. All these things are possible in a PMS or AIF. Third thing, which people don't realize, they always compare on returns. They say that, okay, a PMS should always give higher return than mutual fund. ऐसा नहीं होगा ना. If a PMS is investing, let us say I run a broad portfolio in a PMS, and somebody is running a highly concentrated small cap but in a mutual fund, तो उसका return ज़्यादा हो सकता है ना. Now you can always argue that for a PMS investor, my portfolio is conservative, and for a mutual fund investor, a pure small cap portfolio is extremely aggressive. So by and large, the rule is very simple. As narrowly you focus, मैंने बताया जैसे what is BSE 500. तो BSE 500 which is the market का representation, उसमें जितना narrowly आप focus करेंगे उतना आपका product ज़्यादा high risk high return बन सकता है. So it's not a function of PMS or mutual fund. There are a lot of mutual funds which run like PMS. That's why I said, correct? So as narrowly you focus, it can create that much of a volatile risk return combination. So it's not so much about the risk return actually. It's more about the operational setup, the fee structure, the investment latitude, those things. Like if you ask me in our PMS, for example, in our PMS, we have very high deviation from benchmark. So which means that we can aim for high alpha, but every once in a while it can have volatility or fluctuation. Whereas if you see our mutual fund, it's run for retail investors. It's very conservative. We are running it for consistency. Our mutual fund may have lower alpha than our PMS, but probably it will be a lot more consistent as compared to, right? Now someone can always say, boss, but your PMS itself is conservative. तो उसका तो कोई limit नहीं है ना यार. You can make a PMS with 5 small cap stocks. उसका तो कोई limit ही नहीं है. Correct? So we run all our funds, we run for consistency of alpha, maybe in varying degrees, PMS versus mutual fund. We avoid doing anything which is very narrowly focused in the market and hence can result in wild swings or wild fluctuations. The last thing which I'll tell you is that operations wise or in an operating configuration, a PMS is starkly different from a mutual fund. Just simple example. See, a mutual fund is a mass retail vehicle for millions of people. And you know very well that those millions of people are amenable to voting with their feet, meaning voting with the buttons, right? So क्या होता है in a mutual fund, every day lot of money comes in and every day lot of money goes out. So in a mutual fund, apart from stock picking and portfolio construction, fund management is a big deal, is a big activity. And what will happen is that when times like 2020 come, or like even now, say something like when March 2020 comes, theoretically you expect that people should give you money, but they are actually running away.
Yeah, never works like that.
Right? So everyone, in March 2020, people thought that human beings are the next dinosaur. But right now, people think हमारा तो अमृत काल आने वाला है,
Yeah.
right? So it's extreme positions. So म्यूचुअल फंड्स में क्या है कि इन्वेस्टर्स का जो बिहेवियर है ना, ये एक्सट्रीम पोजीशंस को लेकर के हाउ इन्वेस्टर बिहेवियर शेप्स अप एंड हाउ द फंड फ्लोज, you know. Second thing, 5 years back you bought a mutual fund, it had ABC, XYZ in the portfolio, and the corpus was 500 crores. After 10 years, it will have ABC, XYZ, it may have the whole zoo, and the corpus may be 50,000 crores.
Correct.
PMS is not like that. See, in a PMS, his portfolio in his demat, your portfolio is in your demat.
Right.
There may be a day when he is withdrawing, that same day you may be buying.
Correct.
तो इनका डीमैट बैलेंस बेच के इनको पैसा देना है और आपका पैसा डिप्लॉय करके आपका डीमैट अकाउंट क्रेडिट करना है. सो इन अ म्यूचुअल फंड द बिहेवियर, हिज बिहेवियर इम्पैक्ट्स यू, योर बिहेवियर इम्पैक्ट्स मी.
Right.
PMS में, because the portfolios and the fund flows are segregated, investor behavior is automatically segregated.
Right.
That's the major difference.
But I think another way where the behavioral bias, right, which creeps in between a mutual fund and the PMS, is, I think it's in my experience in the last 3 years, right, with PMSs, right, people become more and more, the time horizon starts reducing drastically. Every 6 months, every 1 year, they're like, अच्छा क्या कर रहा है? अगर शायद बहुत पैसे बन गए तो इसको निकाल देते हैं.
See, that is transparency, because what happens in a PMS, each and every transaction,
Is right there.
जैसे पता 20-25 साल पहले आपके घर में नॉर्मल फ़ोन है और किसी का मोबाइल फ़ोन है. व्हाट आर द मेजर डिफरेंस बिटवीन नॉर्मल फ़ोन एंड मोबाइल फ़ोन? वन ऑफ द की डिफरेंसेस, यू गॉट आइटमाइज्ड बिलिंग.
Correct.
पहले कोई एनालाइज नहीं करता था. आइटमाइज्ड बिलिंग आया ना तो किसको फ़ोन किया, कितने बार बात किया.
Exactly.
PMS
That's
is
so
like
true.
a itemized
Right.
billing, right?
This
Because
comes back to that point. Transparency sometimes kills you more. Yeah. It's exactly.
Right, and we're experiencing as well. People,
Yeah.
maybe there are people who have not made money in the last 1.5 years in a PMS or something, and it's similar investor has not made money in a mutual fund also. But with mutual funds, relaxed, okay, chalo chal jayega, okay, whatever. With a PMS, it's on your toes, right? What's happening?
yeah,
let's
because
sort
you
it
can see every transaction. You can
It's
every
more-
month you can see the bill coming.
out. Correct.
जो भी चीज़ें PMS में हो रही हैं, वो सारी चीज़ें म्यूचुअल फंड में हो रही हैं.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? They are also incurring brokerage and STT. They are also buying and selling. Sometimes when they buy, it may make a gain. Sometimes it may make a loss. Sometimes the stock has fallen.
Yeah.
Correct.
You will still sell it and buy something which has fallen more,
Correct.
because you're managing for relative performance. So actually it's just that, a PMS is like surgery without anesthesia. And in a mutual fund, you can't see.
Correct. You can't
That's
see
the
anything.
difference, yeah.
At one point, should a young investor, let's say somebody who's early 30s, 2-3 crore इकट्ठे हो गए उनको, they're doing fairly well. At what point should they start considering a PMS? Do you think there's a general this, or it can't be?
नहीं, ऐसा ज़रूरी है भी नहीं. See, आप देखिए, I'll tell you, इंडिया में इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स का कॉर्पस इज 20-21 लाख करोड़. बट नॉन प्रमोटर, नॉन इंस्टीट्यूशनल, मीनिंग इंडिविजुअल लोगों के अकाउंट का जो डीमैट बैलेंस है ना, by my estimate it is 35 to 40 lakh crores, maybe more. So the reality is that we have a very, very big equity culture, right? So the people who are used to buying and selling equity and operating their own demat accounts and all, they might find a PMS more relatable.
Correct.
Rather than selling the entire portfolio and putting it in a mutual fund. Correct. So there is that nuance which one should not forget. So I think it's like this, that if you're a mutual fund investor and if you're doing fine, there's no reason that okay, if my corpus becomes big, I should go to PMS. ऐसा नहीं है. It's just about the experience. It's the operating platform is
आप अपने
completely
first
different.
crore में भी PMS ले सकते हो if it matches your
Yeah,
objectives.
you
why
can
not?
be 50 crores and not never buy a PMS, and
Correct.
you can be 2 crores and you might want to invest in a
Invest in a
PMS
PMS.
because it's more transparency, you're more engaged. There is a potential to have a high risk, high return combination.
Correct.
According to me, काफ़ी सारे म्यूचुअल फंड्स हैं जो म्यूचुअल फंड होना नहीं चाहिए. So, जैसे अभी कभी क्या करता है, people run a very, very narrow sectorally focused
Right.
fund. Or people run like 15-20 stock small cap portfolio. Now this is, see what happens in a mutual fund. At a click of a button you can buy it.
Correct.
Sometimes people might buy it just because last 3 year return is looking very good. But risk return combination, it's not it's not amenable for a retail investor. It's not amenable for someone who is just starting out.
Correct.
So what I feel is that for the asset manager, it is important that they put the right product in a PMS platform and the right product in a mutual fund platform. And from a customer's perspective, they should understand what will suit my risk return profile. It's like that. It's not got to do with whether somebody has 2 crores or 50 crores, I think, or 20 lakhs or whatever it is.
Right.